Hi guys, welcome to the video. Welcome to RAF Valley on the Isle of Anglesey in the UK, and welcome to this beastie here. This is the Miltech Simulations M2K-C, released a couple of weeks ago for Microsoft Flight Simulator, and it is available for both Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 and 2024. On this occasion I'm running it in 2024, and it's going to be the subject of today's video. Now, before I go any further, I'll just obviously, everybody says exactly the same. Please don't forget to tick like, share, subscribe, etc. blah blah blah. However, as a smaller content producer, this sort of thing makes an inordinate amount of difference to any of us, myself and other small content producers. It's hugely appreciated and really helps out with both the sort of analytics, but also having a look at what you guys enjoy, you know, to help me guide through what I make next as a video. So as I say, I know everybody gets into the routine of saying it, but as I say, it's of huge value to the smaller content producers such as myself. But anyway, back to the case in point. What I'm going to do is bring over the website. I think it's always worth having a little look at the website because there's a couple of golden nuggets to glean out of this sort of thing. The first one, Miltech Simulations M2K-Charlie. It's basically a representation of a Mirage 2000 Charlie, but I will highlight why we've got the strange name which comes up to here. Disclaimers, simulation use only. This product has been independently developed using open source information, and this product is an artistic impression produced under the First Amendment and does not accurately represent nor intend to represent the performance systems, designs and or features of any real-life aircraft. So that's the first element. The second one is down here, a clear example of derivative work. So although they've been able to go through a lot of the publicly available information that's out there on the internet, etc., they haven't, they've basically created their representation of it. So it's worth bearing that in mind, that they've used every single document that they could get their hands on, but obviously without that, you know, there's a limit to what you can do. There's also a limit based on it by virtue of it being a simulator, also a limitation based on it by the fact that it's historically Microsoft Flight Simulator and its predecessors weren't really set up to deal with transonic and supersonic aircraft. It can be done, and it depends on how good the developer is as to what sort of results you got. But historically, Microsoft Flight Simulator did not do a good job of it at all. But there we go. So, a couple of bits to pick apart there, and next thing to pick apart is the price. $30 nearest makes no difference. Now that's a really reasonable price for the product. As I say, just having a number is irrelevant. What you need to do is say whether you're getting quality or value for money. And I think it's pretty easy to see with this one that you are getting value for money with it. Yeah, it's not to the complexity of, say, a PMDG aircraft, but there's a lot of unique stuff in this that's fun to be had. But there we go. You can also get Cambrai and LEH airbase bundles at checkout. Now, as I say, it's compatible with 2024 and 2020. A little bit of information, some lovely pictures of this aircraft, and I have to say it's one of those aircraft that is aesthetically just lovely. Everything about it screams speed and manoeuvrability, just fantastic. But they've got a little bit of information about it here. Beautiful model. I find it very difficult to dispute that. The flight model, fly-by-wire flight model. So I've got a new joystick, and it just doesn't. There's an element of it where yes, it's fly-by-wire, but it also, for me, fly-by-wire is more like I would anticipate it to behave like the Hornet, for example, at this era, where wherever you point the nose, the aircraft will hold the nose there. As opposed to allowing it to drop or climb or whatever, similar to the Hornet. It doesn't quite manage that. We'll see that when we're flying it. You still need to trim it out of it. But that may be representative of the real thing. I don't know. I'm just surmising here that I think the way that the F-18s fly by wire is more akin to how I would have expected this. There's a little bit of deviation from it, shall we say. But The flight model cross-referenced with real life and validated by SMEs. Always good if you've got SMEs, rather than having random information coming in. Love it when we get subject matter experts into the sim and the aircraft. Now, the weapon system, it does have a weapon system of sorts. You can do all of these things, but obviously the thing is it's not focused as a combat sim, so your weapons don't really do much. They're more for the aesthetics or the appearance of things, rather than anything else. You're not going to go and bomb anything with this because it's not that kind of simulator. So the SDK prevents a lot more than what they've managed here. They've basically got to the point where the sim allows them to get to, is the best way of describing it. But they've got things like the HUD modes and all that sort of thing put into it, which is really nice. Systems, not everything is simulated, but the important stuff is. So the INS, for example, I quite like the INS. I'm a little bit twisted like that. The aircraft I used to fly in used something similar to an INS. It was actually Doppler based. It was a tactical air navigation system that aircraft used over the sea. And things like INS and TANs, that sort of thing, they're really good in many respects in that they don't give off any emissions, and therefore completely independent. They're not reliant on GPS either. So these systems have qualities all of their own that we don't always that we sometimes don't always see. You can destroy all the GPS systems, but if you're flying off INS, it really doesn't matter if those satellites have been shot down or not. You're still going to get to where you want. But there's some fun to be had. Things like the functional RWR displays of the traffic, etc. Some 16 liveries, which are gorgeous. I'll be brutally honest, they're absolutely delightful. My favourite one is spinning around behind us at the moment. Some animations, drag shoot, etc., and then some accessories, GPU models, etc. Really, really nice. Freebies, we always like freebies. Freebie scenery, which is the Sweepes firing range, 30 minutes from Cambrai, with its ICAO identifier there for you. And then we go into a little bit more detail in terms of the weapon system, air-to-ground, air-to-air countermeasures, and so on. Need to knows at the bottom of the web page, products and documentation, or product documentation, I should say, INS flight planning, all the stuff that you'd need to know in terms of various bits and bobs. But this one is an important thing. It doesn't use the built-in flight planner for the INS. So the inertial navigation system. So you can't load up a flight plan in the Sims flight planner and expect it to transfer across. It doesn't do that. And actually in reality it wouldn't do that. So what you get is this. If you click on the link, you come to this page here, which is basically their nav planner. So you can choose which map you want, type of map and so on and so forth, and then as long as you don't click somewhere random, you can choose the type of map, then you can plan your route on here, and then it comes up as a list of waypoints with the lat and long, which is basically how they plan their routes. It's dead simple. It just means that you've got all the information that's needed to hand for planning the route in terms of the inertial navigation system. The only thing that I wish it did do is maybe wish it would indicate airports or airfields by name. So for example, if I expand this out and then come over here, this is where we're going today. It's RAF Shawbury, but there's no name or anything around this depending on the type of map. What does it say on the road map? Yeah, RAF Shawbury, but the runways are up here. So yeah, it's a shame in some respects, but it is what it is. But at least you've got something to help you do it with the lat and long, which is huge. And then we come all the way down to the bottom and you can add it to the cart, etc. And then they've got their other products. So that's the web page. As I say, we've done the disclaimers, and then it's got the documentation hub, which is really, really good. There's an awful lot of information on here. It's just very good. I must admit the documentation is one of the absolute highlights, because without it you're going to struggle, unless you're French, because the cockpit is in French. But there we go. Right, ready to fly. Ready to fly. And let's have a look at what we see from ground level. this is an aesthetically very attractive aircraft, isn't it? Look at that. That thing means speed. It means speed all over. My sim's stuttering now. But that thing is a beautiful aircraft. So in terms of the 3D modelling that we see at the moment, very, very nice. Not a particularly big aircraft, not compared to, you know, an average airliner or whatever, but you can see all the ground stuff's there. So we've got the exhaust covers, sensor covers, etc. Chocks. Very, very nicely done. Right, let's have a slightly closer look at this. If my system will let me do it. Right, let's come down here to the sort of traditional heart of where we look at things. Let's just go up a little bit. So the 3D modelling has been done to a very, very high standard. It's absolutely gorgeous. There's no two ways about it. The standard of modelling on this thing is really nice. In fact, let me just go to the camera, slow it down slightly. Where's me camera? Showcase and zoom drone speed. Let's just reduce that a little bit. That's a bit better. So, as I say, 3D modelling on this thing is really, really nice. The amount of the attention to detail with, I assume this is some sort of pressure or pitot tube over here. However, obviously the normal one would be here, I suggest. Refueling probe done to a very, very high standard. All of the attention to detail is very, very good in terms of the modelling. Very good indeed. Angle of attack, I would have thought, down there. Looks really nice in the lighting as well. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. And then you get to things like the level of detail for the cockpit when you're looking outside in, although this isn't the best way to look at it with the sun as it is. Let's see if we can have a look at it this way. It's really, really nice. Very nice indeed. A little bit of a texture anomaly here, but I'm not going to get too carried away with that. Interesting aircraft by virtue of things like the wing shape. The undercarriage, when I first saw it, I was like, what the hell is going on here? But obviously they've got to fit it into the airframe and the wheel well, etc. But look at the strength of the undercarriage as well. This thing just gets planted down, doesn't it? Ooh, while we're here, you can see the inside of the wheel well modelling there. Very nicely modelled. The 3D modelling and the texturing, for that matter, very, very nice. Now this is, as I say, one of the special liveries, probably an air display livery I would have thought. A little bit scruffy around the edges, but I don't know if that's how the livery would have been on the actual aircraft. But overall, the 3D modelling and the texturing, very, very good. These are formation lights here. They're low intensity lights for exactly what they say on the tin, formation, but you don't use them during the daylight. They're only for low light and nighttime conditions, really. You don't need them on the daytime because you've got a massive, great big aircraft to look at. And if you need them in the daytime, you're a little bit too close, one would suggest. But even the engine intakes are, the engine blanks at the rear are nice. And again, look at the sort of 3D modelling here in terms of the curvature, etc. Very, very nice indeed. The aircraft hasn't got any flaps. As a delta wing, it's a very unique design, a very special design. A little bit scruffy on some of the textures down here, but I think they're trying to replicate the wear and tear that you'd have in the jet on a day-to-day basis. But overall, on the exterior, pretty happy. As I say, there's certain areas where the textures become a bit not so sure, but 3D modelling wise, very good. And I'll be honest, it's just a really pretty jet to look at. Really pretty jet to look at from any angle. And as I say, it just screams speed. There's something about the French aircraft, the Rafale as well. Gorgeous. Although one of my favourite aircraft is not a Delta, it's the F1B, F1E, whatever it is. French F1, absolutely gorgeous aircraft. There's something about the way the French build aircraft that is just fantastic. But anyway, let's get inside and have a look at the inside. So modelling of the inside, it's a mix of sort of the sort of more modern electrical stuff and the older stuff, but it's just oozes a sort of ambience of a well-used military jet. You know, compared to an airliner, anyone who's been in military aircraft knows there's a very distinctive appearance of a sort of utilitarian appearance to them. But one of the first things is that you can turn tooltips on, and it's quite highly suggested. The reason being is that all the instrumentation is in French. So if you're like me and you don't read French, then it may be beneficial to do so. I've tended to get to the point where I'm just trying to figure my way around things and learning it by position rather than anything else. So these 4 switches over here, I don't really know what they are. That's the battery master, but I don't really know what they are. I just know what I need to do with them. But that's a personal deficit on my part, not knowing French and being too lazy to learn the words. But you can get rid of the stick, but really it's more about the ambience than anything else in many respects with this cockpit. It's just absolutely glorious. So 3D modelling is very nice. I absolutely love the throttle. There's just something about that throttle. Good sounds, very nice indeed. Wear and tear on it as well, very nice. You can see it's one of the older sort of HOTAS systems just by the way it's been designed. You know, if you compare that to say an F-16, you'll see a very different sort of throttle, even though it's single engine as well. But lots of stuff is clickable, some bits that aren't. This does your interior and your exterior stuff. So I wonder if canopy, I don't know if it will. No noise as it moves, that's a shame. But I wonder if we'll get some steps out here now. I don't know how I've not got steps. I've got everything else. I just don't seem to have any steps to get in. Oh, there they are. Huh? That'd be a simism rather than a... There we go. Very nice. Jump back in. Let's get rid of all of that stuff. We don't want it because we're going to drag it around on the floor. And I remember something, the period of the 80s, which is where I spent a lot of time fascinated with aircraft. The things like the Phantom, etc. This kind of canopy, I don't know why, but when it comes down and it does the bit where it's kind of latched open for some fresh air, like that. Phantoms and the like, they just fascinate me, they do. Just as we notice, nice scratches and effects on the canopy. There's a canopy effect I do not like, which is sim related, nothing to do with the guys who developed this. But Microsoft Flight Simulator could really do with getting it away. They had the option to get rid of it in 2020, where you could have it on and off, and that's reflections on the canopy. Because in this aircraft it's a bit of a but yeah, the 3D modelling here is absolutely brilliant. There's no real other words to use. I haven't come across much in the way of defects, to be honest. I think it's just been done to a very nice standard. I mean, the complexity compared to an airliner is really impressive, because airliners are designed to be much better laid out than this. This is a real old school. Oh, what's that? Oh, that's nice. So you've got the code there to download for the documents. That's nice. Hadn't noticed that before. But these are obviously at this level, circuit breakers and the like aren't modelled, but the controls are nice. Various nice switches, sounds. Just a very nice environment. there's not really much more to say about it. The 3D modelling, as you can see, is to a very, very high standard. The wear and tear is very well depicted in terms of, I mean, look at this. This is really nicely modelled. Really nicely modelled. And the wear and tear and textures all look good. Glazing, lovely effects on that. Courtesy of Microsoft Flight Simulator, no doubt. I mean, it's just lovely. There's not a lot to complain about in here, to be honest. There really isn't. I've yet to come across something where it's a glaring no-no. If you look at the texturing, 3D modelling of the straps, that looks metallic. You know, the buckles on these things are obviously metallic, but that looks metallic. Straps all look good, nicely modelled in 3D. They're not just flat to the headrest, etc. of the ejector seat. Can't do anything with the ejector seat, I don't think. No, that's just for the stick. But yeah, very nice. So what we'll do is we'll get some power on, and we will have a look at it then. So let me just come down here. In fact, I've got a keybind that brings me down here much more quickly. That's the switch on for the battery. I'm going to turn these three on. This last one here is for external power. So we've got external power on. We can spend all day if we wish here. Absolutely no bother. We're not going to run our battery down. So there's a few concessions. So for example, things like the HUD. I don't believe it's got persistent modelling. So things like the HUD tend to come on. It's that one there. But you can turn things off, as you can see. Likewise, you've got to be mindful that the HUD is Microsoft HUD, and so therefore if you do this, your HUD disappears. You can have half HUD and so on and so forth. That's a Microsoft thing. That's nothing to do with the developers. That's just a limitation of the sim. It's just one of those things. But already you can hear that the sounds are great. So all we're going to do really is have a quick go at starting her up. She's not particularly difficult to start up. And then we'll have a quick look at taking her out. So starting her up, really, I'm going to go back to my basics. Let's do a cockpit tour first whilst we're here. So this is one of your main displays here. This is a really useful display. It allows you to load the weapons, etc. We can have a look at that in a moment. You can change, for example, how it displays altitude. So this is barometric, this is radalt, and then this is with a selection, so you can set it to be 500 feet above an altitude, and that's the sort of thing that you'd tend to use for sort of low flying, really, or you know, using a reference height. But we'll keep it on baro at the minute, and then you can set the radalt height that you want it to be. You'll see it flicking around on the left there. But coming down here, here's your weapon panel, your main weapons panel. You've also got a panel over here for other elements of the weapons in terms of bombs dropping, etc. Your engine instrumentation and your systems are all over here. Navigation, you've got this display here. You've obviously got your HUD, and then over here you've got more navigation instrumentation. Then you've got performance instrumentation. As I say, weapons here. Aircraft systems here, like gear, etc. Coming down, we've got comms radio, I believe it is here. Not entirely sure about everything. You can get rid of the throttle if it's in the way by clicking that little button there. And then down here, you've got things that relate to the auto flight system down here and various systems in the aircraft. And then working our way back, a few bits in terms of the EW, etc. that aren't simulated to the best of my knowledge. Yeah, there's stuff you can open and test, but I'll be honest, I'm not fully conversant with that. But most of it is fairly self-explanatory if you go through the manual. As I say, this screen here, those two don't do anything. Where is it? This one over here. This brings this screen to life. This screen's quite a useful screen, actually. It does have weather radar and terrain radar, which is really good, and there's a few things you can change on this, which is great. This is an interesting combined instrument. It's not something I'd come across before, but you've got various navigation modes there which are switched around by this. That's the normal nav mode. I believe that's the instrumentation nav mode in terms of if you're doing ILS, for example. So that's TACAN. I think that might be ILS there. I'm not entirely sure, but that's the normal nav mode there. And it's not like a course deviation indicator, it's just a needle that points at stuff. But it's perfectly good for what we're after. Fuel, engine temperatures, etc. over here, all very good. Now this is one of the important bits down here, is the inertial navigation system. It's this box here added to with this bit here, and then down here this box down here as well. All of these things are involved in using the navigation system. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at sticking a couple of bits of details in. So what we need to do is tell it where we are. So although it knows where we are, and I think it's consistent that most systems. Now I've not encountered this system, as I say. I use tactical air navigation system in the aircraft that I flew in, which were similar in some respects but different in other respects. It's hard to explain, but the presentation was relatively similar. I'm going to put a couple of things in and then I'll just fill in the rest and then we'll see it in use. So this is the left hand one here is the waypoint that you are working with in terms of changing things. The right hand one is the waypoint that you are flying towards, or that the system is set to fly towards. And across the top you've got obviously your lat and long. As I say, from the map we needed to get our lat and long, but before we do that we need to scribble this lat and long down, because this is your scratch pad, and it doesn't use waypoint 0 as your initial waypoint, which is unlike a lot of other systems. We need to set up waypoint 1 as our sort of departure waypoint, if you like. So in terms of doing that, we have it all like this. We then press prep, it comes up with this, and then we go 0, 1, and there we go. So this is waypoint 1, and it wants northings and eastings. So what we're going to do is going to go north. See how it changes from the choice between the two to a single one. North 53, 14, 5, 53, 14, 5, insert, and then west. We're going west 432 4 0 0 4 32 4. Insert. That is now our position. It's trying to figure out how to align. So at this point we need to set it off. So we come down here and you can align it in a couple of ways. I will mention you can put altitude in as well. I tend not to bother. It doesn't seem to upset it that much. But if you put it to align, it will go realistic. So it'll take however many minutes, 2 to 3 minutes, or ALCM, which basically is what I use because I'm lazy. And that will automatically align. Then you come back up to here. You see it's got the flashing align mode. We'll click for validate. In fact, I think I need to be in status. Where's status on here? Status, here we go. And this is now our countdown, and we're going to validate. Validate goes clear. 3, 2, 1. That's it all validated. So now I'll come back down to here and put this back to normal. And then when we come up here, it's got our position, waypoint 1, and pret. Pret means it's all sorted, good to go. So at this point we're going to put some more waypoints in. So I'll do one more waypoint. I'll just get the other screen, get the waypoints up. So I'll put another waypoint in, and then I'll just skip forward in the video till I'm done with all of them, because you don't need to see me put 7 waypoints in. So prep 0, 2, and it's north 53, 623. So 5306, and you round off. So 23, we're going to go for 2. Insert west, it's going to be 0, 0, and then what are we? 0, 0, 4, 11, 58, 0, 0, 4, 11, 58 is going to be 6, enter, and that's how you do it. So then you go to prep, 0, 3, and so on and so forth. So I'll see you in a moment once I've put them all in. So this is the last waypoint. I'll just mention something that I absolutely love as an effect. So this is 07. When I put in the north and south, notice how it fades rather than just goes out. So if I do north, oh no, it's on this one down here. Absolutely love it. North 5247, 5247, 5, and then I'm sure it does it on this. Insert, and then west. Yeah, it fades. Lovely effect. 240 and 1. 002, 40, and then 1. Insert. So that's our navigation incomplete now. That's everything. So as I say, prep is to load in a waypoint. Destination is where we're going. So that will set this waypoint here. Let's just come up here. And then it will show on here as a yellow cross. In terms of the radar, there's a few things you can put on here. So if I come over here, first thing you can do is you come up to this button here. This will allow you to change your weapon load. So we are going to put a couple of weapons on. Now the gun pod is almost, or the guns are always there because they're an integral part of the aircraft. However, this white pipper is what you move around to change your weapons. So we're going to put a couple of Mark 82s on and a couple of. So let's put Mark 82, one there. And one there, and then let's put some missiles on. Not that way, that way, that way, that way, that way, yeah, that way. One there. Make it look like a war-hungry beast that it is. And one there, and then all I do is press that button again, and it disappears like that, and we're back to our main video screen. This has got a couple of modes that it can have. So it can have, for example, like an air-to-air mode and different sources. So say, for example, down here we've got the terrain mode, which when we come on it should give us the terrain, so that's the outline of the coastline. And then this is the width of the scan. So here you can see just about the black line going backwards and forwards. This changes the width of your radar scan, so that narrows it down. For example, you can see we're into this cone now. You can see the radar image, or we can go back the other way. It's all pretty cool. There's a lot about it in the manual, and as I say, the manual is very, very good. And so, for example, which one is it? I think it's this one. Selects air-to-air mode. Yeah, so it selects air-to-air mode, for example, which is a fascinating thing. There's a lot to be playing around with in here. As I say, we're not going to go through everything. This is just to have a quick look at it, really. But there's a lot of fun to be had with it if you want to play it being fighty. A couple of the useful buttons here are, it doesn't seem to do, in terms of navigation, it doesn't seem to do auto follow, so it won't auto sequence. That's what I'm trying to say. It doesn't auto sequence the waypoints, so if you get to waypoint 2 it doesn't automatically load up for waypoint 3, which I think the real thing would do normally. I can't remember if the TAN system I used did that. I think it did when it was set as a route. But if you want to change your waypoint rather than faffing around down here, these two buttons up here on the left change waypoint. So if we have a look at this 02 is the current one we've got selected, 03, 04, 05, and so on and so forth. Not forgetting that 01 is where we are. You should also see, if this is on nav here, you'll see the distances at the top, I believe, if it's in the right mode. Although I think, oh right, yeah, I have to be in nav down here, don't I? So let me just check I've got everything down here that I need. Oh right, yeah. That's why that one needs to go to nav. There we go. You can see the mileage, the miles now. So if I change this up and down, I knew I did something wrong. You can see the miles increasing as we go through the waypoints, and there's nothing silly. It's not reading a point where it gets to 2,000 miles. 0 for where we are. So that's our first waypoint. You can see the needle moves as it does so. What you'll also see on here is it comes up with a little yellow marker as to where our waypoint is. What range have we got set on this at the minute? Because that's important. So we should be able to change the range. You can see it's swapping. It's poor lighting, to be fair, but you can see it swapping over the range as we go twisting through them. So, all very good. Let's get this thing started. It's an absolute doddle to start. So literally we come down here and there's a few switches we need on. So we need, let me see, we need that one on, that one, that one, that one, open that, click that one, close that, press and hold that. Here we go. And then we should be able to see it come to life down here. Let's have a little listen from outside. Nice heat haze coming out the back of the exhaust. I mean that's a pretty iconic look of a French jet fighter with the canopy still slightly ajar. As I say, the sounds are lovely in this thing. Now you do need to preset a couple of controls for things like the tail, drogue chute, etc. But we'll see about those as we go. Let me just get this closed. Self reset. Wheel brakes off. A little bit of power. Don't forget the nose wheel steering. It's a toggle. There's details about it in the instructions. The velocity vector seems to go left and right with the momentum of the aircraft, which is all good. And she's a delight to steer on the ground, it has to be said. If you can steer her, that is, from a third-person perspective. But she'll trundle along, in fact probably gain speed I would have thought at idle throttle. This is a very powerful jet at fairly light weight, so I expect nothing but stellar performance from it. But we're going to taxi out to the runway, we'll get airborne, and then we'll see what we think in terms of the navigation. As I say, I think although the weapons are there, for me Microsoft Flight Simulator is more about the enjoyment of operating an aircraft such as this in a navigation sort of capacity. And you can take it in and out of military airfields, obviously. There's no civilian airfields. There's no reason why you can't. You just need to be aware of the performance in terms of how long it's going to take you to, how far it's going to take you to land in terms of a distance. But it's very easy because there's no flaps or anything on this aircraft. And she's quite manoeuvrable on the ground as well. And so because there's no flaps, there's not really much to set up for a takeoff. Make sure there's nothing untoward. There's no horrible scary lights on down here. We're holding on the foot brake, on the toe brakes. Yeah, really nice. Right, let's get airborne. A little bit too much. Wasn't paying attention enough there. So let's get a little bit of a climb. You can see we've got 14 miles to waypoint 2 at the minute. get the nose down, don't want to climb too high with this, bring it round to the left, and this little mark here you can see, this is the waypoint marker for where we're going. We're actually going to fly down one of the Welsh valleys and then do a couple of little legs off that. As you can see, I've brought the power right back. We're still doing 460 odd knots, so bring it back a little bit more. And away we go. And this allows me to highlight the thing I really hate, which is not the model's fault, it's Microsoft Flight Simulator. It looks like we're permanently flying through smoke. These lighting effects of these shadows are absolutely awful, in my opinion, on these things. Absolutely horrendous. Hate them. And hate is a strong word to use in this sort of thing, but there's absolutely no benefit from that in this sim for this sort of aircraft. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, you can turn the windshield effects off. This iteration of the sim, you can't. Look at that, it's horrendous. Looks like we're flying through smoke. Right, only got a little bit to go to the next waypoint, so coming down here, click, waypoint 3, coming around this way. Wow, 600 mile an hour, 600 knots. And this, for me, is where this aircraft excels, is just flying a route at low level and enjoying the marvellous scenery. I mean, look at that. It's fantastic. She's very stable, as you'd expect from a fly-by-wire jet. I've got a little issue with the fact I'm using force feedback, which is just that I've had to set a dead zone in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 because otherwise my controls are far too sensitive. I have noticed in terms of navigation that this little marker jumps left and right every now and again, which it's not a big issue. Just come down a little bit. Enjoy the scenery. And this is where this thing shines. It's a lovely aircraft to fly. See, it just jumped slightly to the right there. Next waypoint. Click, bang, over to the right. And this is just fun. Really enjoyable. And the joy of the waypoint and the way it's set up is that you can, as long as you're routing in the same direction, you'll be alright. You can just fly slightly offset, really enjoy what you're doing. It's just an awesome way to set it up. 4 miles to the next waypoint. And this is fantastic fun. With the navigation system in this, it's probably one of the most enjoyable military jets that I've flown in the sim. And I'm a sucker for punishment in terms of using the inertial nav system, but you can see the benefits of using it here. It's just fantastic. 4 miles to go. As a way of seeing the scenery, it's just second to none. Look at that coastline out to the right, heading south along the Welsh coast. Beautiful. It's just that occasional jump every now and again, which I think is because we're kind of close to the waypoint now, so let's just click there. It's going to be round to the left. Decent pull. Got a bit of a grunt there from our pilot. This is one of the best ways to enjoy Microsoft Flight Simulator. Down low, in amongst the weeds. We're heading towards, which waypoint's this now? Waypoint 5. And we're going to come across Lake Bala. This is just fantastic. We've got 5 miles to run. Let's just bring it round to the right a little bit. That's our terrain warning, so we're getting a bit low. This is what we want to be doing, isn't it? This is just superb fun. The handling, this thing is really, really nice. I mean, obviously it's fly-by-wire, so there's going to be a sort of constraint in that. You're not going to get that visceral feel that you might get from a Warbird. But in terms of doing exactly what it says on the tin, you can see it's stable as anything. I did say about the trim, you can see just about the nose is just starting to climb, but it's got superb stability as if it's flying by wire. The nose is dropping there, but it's not enough for me to complain about because I'm not an expert on the flying characteristics and systems of French jets. Here's Lake Bala. You watch it, I'll crash this thing. 2.5 miles to go to our waypoint, so we'll get back onto track with it. This is just a joy. Let's go there. Click there, next waypoint. Which is over to the left. This is just such an enjoyable way to spend a flight. The only thing that I think I would like is to have the ability to set these buttons up as waypoint buttons. I'm not sure if you can. I had a look through the instructions and I couldn't figure out how to do it, but to do incrementals for the waypoints, there must be a way of doing it. There must be. This is just so much fun. This is the way to fly an aircraft like this. And then final waypoint, Dink, RF Shawbury. Is over here. Let's just get ourselves over this mountain, or this hill I should say, it's not really a mountain. And if I come down here, flick this on, is it this one? S&P, there we go. And there we go, we've got a bomb line for some CCIP, continuously computed impact point or something like that, I think. So if I stick the nose down, there we go. Bombs away. A lot of fun to be had there. And let me see about the gun. So there's a couple of bombs going. Turn that off, turn that off. Where's our missiles? Yeah, there we go. So just wait till it goes to B. There we go. I think there's a panel down here. We need to choose it on. Is it that one? That one. There we go. How cool is that? Let's have a look at it from the outside. Much fun to be had. And then of course there is a gun. So let's turn that one off. Is this the gun one here? I think actually I need to change my switch to repeat. I'm not entirely sure. Or is that flare? That's flares, is it? Oh, I don't know. But yeah, much fun to be had. So let's get back to our navigation. Let's turn everything that's gunfighting off. Right, back to our navigation. Let's go and find Shawbury. And let's have a go at some sort of landing. There we go. Just overshot it a little bit. So as I say, it's not supposed to be a tutorial on the weapons, just to have a little bit of fun to show that they do work. As I say, they're not going to damage anything, but you can muck around with your dogfighting and see how it goes. Right, how far away are we? Only 2 miles away. So where is my airfield? Whereabouts is my airfield, I wonder? I think we're going over the top of it. Somewhere, in fact, if I come round like this, and then this is pointing to Shawbury down here, and I need that to be on about, what are we saying? It's apparently got an ILS Cat 1, I'm not entirely sure, 180 it needs to be on, so I'm going to come in on about 180, see how we get on with that. Hello. What's going on there then? I think that's my controls. And how many miles away are we at the minute? 6 miles away. Let's start a turn in. And you can see where it's stable as soon as I move my control, because I've got a dead zone set. It starts to move around, but it's stable. I can take my hands off like this. Going a bit too fast. Where you see it jerking, that's my joystick coming just out of the dead zone. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and get this set up on about 180. Because I know the runway's 180. So we're not far off it, are we? We're just going to keep coming left a bit. Can't quite see the airfield. 6 miles away. What are we? 6 miles? 2,400. 3 times 6 is 1,800. So we're slightly high. slightly high. Let's put the gear down. Oh, here it is. See if I can get the drag chute to work. In fact, we're very high, to be honest. Now, if I click that, it comes up with the approach system. And it comes up with the E-bracket. There we go. Joystick is a pain. It doesn't look like a properly made runway, does it? Oh well. Is it an out of use runway, I wonder? Way. Do you want to over control it anymore, Ricardo? And maybe bounce it while you... Hey! Oh, didn't like that. Oh my word. That is how not to land the aircraft. Wow, what the hell happened there? I mean, obviously it's a me thing, and I managed to fail to put my drag chute out. Not quite sure what I managed to do there, but never mind. So there we have it, guys. What a fantastic little aircraft to have a play around in. I don't think for $30 you can be upset with this one. 3D modelling is really good. The aesthetics are fabulous. Texturing, there's a few scruffy bits, but overall I'm not going to be upset with that. Interior 3D modelling is absolutely superb, and there's a lot of systems involved that really, I mean, the INS really brings a next level to it. I forgot to mention, by the way, on the radar screen, when you have waypoints, it comes up with a little yellow marker to fly towards as well. So it's not just the marker on here, it also comes up with the marker down here. So yeah, really, really nicely done. Apart from the awful landing at the tail end. Oh dear. I wonder if there's a terrain thing. I'm going to use that as an excuse. But there we go, guys. So hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to tick like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. But in the meantime, I'll be flying this thing because it's a joy. Take care.